What? What are you talking, what number? Oh, the number that didn't show up? Hold on, where'd I put it? 177-757-80. Yep.
Okay, guys. Are they ready?
Just do it.
Okay, are you ready? Here it comes.
Oh, that wasn't bad.
That was not so bad.
They've adjusted it again.
All right, the meeting's going to come to order. With this thing.
It's on.
Yeah,
Just
it's
keep
on.
going.
Okay,
She did.
I did. I'll hit it again.
There you go.
Now, that's what I expect. That's true. The meeting's going to come to order at 6, well, actually, it's 1 after 6. So we'll have a call to order. And now we'll have a roll call.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Butler-Challenger here. Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Benzi?
Here.
Mr. Funes-Bliss?
Here.
Ms. Kellerman?
Here.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, for those of you who have an agenda, we're on number 2, which is the civil reflection. This is the Pledge of Allegiance and then the moment of silence. So thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It's nice to see a full house. All right, we have an approval of the agenda, which is item 3.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Support.
Mr. Funes-Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler-Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Benzi?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4, disclosure of conflict of interest. I see none. Item 5 is our first public statements. And of course, this one says current agenda items.
Hi, Ray Kotke, Park Lake Road, 15566 in fact. I just have one comment to say under item 13, unfinished business. We talked about this at the Planning Commission meeting is in regards to CIPs. And we have only one CIP outstanding that's been awarded, that's been allocated money, and I would strongly urge you to put it under unfinished business so at least we can find out what's going on, or if nothing's going on, or that would be the Park Lake Trail Phase 1. It just is very disconcerting to people in the community to.
The agenda's been approved as is,
Exactly.
so.
But I figured I could get up here and spout that out before you guys caught me, so
I
I did
figured.
that. But
Thank
just let
you.
it be known, I have a lot of questions asking me, why in the heck hasn't anything happened, and I can't answer it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? You guys gonna draw straws?
Rick Curtis, Park Lake Road, you guys are pretty used to me coming up here and whining and complaining, but I want to thank our clerk, Brenda Challenger, for sending me a FOIA request before she left this evening, and it was about the board meeting rules of order. So it's really not an agenda item, but I did want to thank her for that. I'm a little bit confused when I read the agenda item. Let's see. Right, new business, it'd be item 14, large A, little b, attendance at board meetings, Board of Trustee meetings by Fahey and Schultz, Rhodes. That's by Superintendent Karen Hildebrand. And when I read through the packet, the first line stated that the board had requested a cost for what it would be for them to attend the meeting. But I've watched and or attended every meeting since this new board has taken office. And I don't remember the board making that request. So I'm wondering how that could be. Perhaps it was done in an executive meeting or something, but I don't remember a vote on that in the open meetings. So hopefully when you get to that issue, you can clear that up for me. And then I'll have some other comments in the second public comments. But I just want to say about the amount of money that you're talking about spending on a lawyer to be here. Two points. And I put this out on Facebook, and maybe some of you saw it, but for the amount of money that we spend on attorneys over the course of a year, for the extra stuff, just the additions like this kind of thing, being here when it's not necessary, we could have 2,000 lineal feet of sidewalk that's crumbling replaced. So I think there's a priority issue here. If you just follow the rules and follow the laws, you won't need an attorney. But if you can't do that, then maybe that's a good expenditure. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks, Pam.
Sorry, I broke my foot earlier, so now I'm even more disabled than I usually am. Sorry for the delay. First of all, I would like to say, hello, Marie Howe. I'm glad to see you.
It's nice to see you here.
And I would also like to say, this would probably be to the horror of the Park Lake Advisory Committee, but I would like to speak. I thought they did a fantastic job on their portion of the packet that you all are receiving tonight. And I hope you look at that and ask questions and are aware that they are actually the Park Lake Advisory Committee, which would be for you to all take advantage of, I guess would be. Also, I would like to say that, with regards to having a township lawyer in the audience is expensive. I have to put my money towards my taxes. And if I have to pay $600 towards a township attorney to sit in the audience, which granted, tonight there are many people, which I'm glad to see, as I'm sure you are as well. But many times there is no one in the audience. And paying someone $600 to sit there is a concern of mine. Like I have stated, and many of you have seen on Facebook sites, that it takes me 3 months to pay $600. So I would just like you all to take that into consideration when you are thinking about any of these items on the agenda for this evening. Like I stated, I'm not feeling very well, so I'm gonna watch the rest of it from the comfort of my home. Good night.
Thank you.
Good evening, Judy Gardy, Park Lake Road. Just two quick comments. First, I want to echo what Meg said. We are so fortunate to have the members of the Park Lake Advisory Board working and volunteering for us. The report that you have in front of you tonight is excellent, and they really are outstanding experts in their field, and we are absolutely very fortunate to have them working with us. And I greatly appreciate the collaboration that they bring to Friends of Park Lake as well. And secondly, just quickly, I was pleased to see strategic planning is on your agenda tonight. I've been bringing that up before you in the past, and I think it's a good sign to see it there, and I'd be interested as you move forward to seeing how the community can help you have input into that planning process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. Are there any other takers? Okay. Our next one, and I don't see anybody here, but that doesn't mean, so we have a city, county, state, or other agencies? I don't see anybody, so. Consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Benzi?
Yes,
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, our next item would be 8, the approval of the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustee meeting from April 3rd of 2023.
Support.
As submitted, I should say.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms.
You usually,
Benzi?
yes,
Ms. Kellerman?
yes, don't touch you, sorry about that.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, our next item would be 9, for those that are following. This is approval of the vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers as submitted.
I second.
All right, I have a question that deals with before you approve the voucher. My question with this, your ARPA funds, treasurer, that you have, it's a different amount. Does that mean we have three?
This is ending January, this
I
is
got,
ending
I
February.
got it, I got that. That's three different,
This is the balances at the end
So-
of each month,
so you're including interest.
yes.
Okay.
And any checks that have been written out of it are added or subtracted from there.
And we don't know any subtractions.
Well, we haven't had any checks written out of the ARPA funds, except a
Oh, I
couple
thought
of
we had,
different ones.
oh, I thought we had 20,000.
It probably happened before, in December.
Nope, came out of the ARPA's.
It's probably
It
the
wouldn't-
interest and then that's been added.
Okay, that's, all right.
So you're skipping to the
because-
treasurer's report now instead of the vouchers. Is that what you're doing?
No, well, this was part of your voucher.
No,
With
this
the
is
ARPA
part of the
funds.
treasurer's report.
That's-
This is,
So our vouchers, we don't see the ARPA's. Okay,
because there's no funds taken out. Vouchers are any checks that we've written out of them
Okay.
in the last 2 weeks. That's what you're approving with vouchers.
right. Okay, I had them all together.
Oh, okay.
So that was,
This
no.
this is the bond refund.
This is the bond refund, which has to do with the treasury report.
Yes.
Okay.
Along with my treasurer.
Okay, because
general- yes,
I still will have the
investment.
questions. Okay, nope, I appreciate that explanation.
Okay.
Yes, we're finally set.
Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Benzi?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes.
Now we do the treasury report.
All right,
Yeah,
so
you
what's your
already
question?
have. My question, same question. The ARPA, is the difference between, what was it, the planning commission? They ended up saying we had 1,366,205.95.
And where did they get that?
I don't know.
Because they didn't
That's what
come
I'm
to me and
asking.
ask me.
That's, well, they did the research, he says.
I don't know.
Oh, there's Miles. No, that was my
And
only
what was
question
the
because
date
it was
on
different.
his-
And I checked that because it
know.
was the 30th, and that, of course, your date is the 31st. So I questioned that also, because I did the same thing, and that's, oh,
I don't
I'm
know where
sorry.
you got that number.
We're too focused here.
That's okay. Well, so the property that we purchased on Park Lake was taken out of those funds at the end of 2022. And I think the 20,000 that you're referring to for the Senior Services Advisory Board has not all been expended to this point in time. So
But
it's,
so the 20 isn't figured.
it comes out as the bills are paid. And right now, we have an invoice for the facilitator that helped us hold the community conversations, but we don't have any other.
No, this was for the sidewalks. Where's he at? He's sitting behind you.
We
Judy,
haven't
because I saw him
funded
come
any
in.
We haven't
sidewalks.
signed it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what we're saying then, the ARPA funds have nothing that's been taken out, regardless of whether it was 2022 or 2023.
No, I'm saying the property we purchased on
Okay.
Park Lake was taken out of there.
Maybe that's where he came up with that figure.
Maybe they had an old figure.
Because we did receive 1.3 approximately.
Right, that's what I
million.
thought.
So you're
Now
missing
it's
the
up
money
to
that we
3
expended for the property.
Okay,
Where are you
Yep.
getting 3.8 at?
well, that was adding these,
You don't add them.
but this is what you're saying.
This is your balance.
Okay, right.
Yes.
So what we're saying is that we have 1.7. Okay.
1.2.
Well, 1.27, okay. Well, actually, it's 1.3. We'll round it up.
That's up to you.
Usually what people do, instead of rounding it down. Okay. Nope, that's what I wanted to make sure I understood. So this is the total amount. So whatever amount was given to the planning commission is not the correct?
I don't know where they got their dollar figure because nobody asked them
Okay.
for it.
Well, it's 1.366.
So it's close.
It's close.
So I think the work that the planning commission was doing was to recommend to us how to spend some of those funds.
Oh, that's exactly what it was?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
and that letter hasn't come to us yet from the planning commission.
It hasn't?
No, it hasn't. Dan Kramer, is my understanding, is
So they-
looking over the letter that they drafted, and then we'll be forwarding that to the board at any time.
So the letter that they handed out, an official memorandum, is not official?
Maybe to the planning commission,
But not to us.
but not to
But,
us.
no, I understand that, but even that, no, oh, okay, I'm just checking. Okay. All right, do we need, because you've given a treasure report, which wasn't public, but it was.
It was in the
It
packet.
was in the packet.
Mhm, it
So
was
that's as
public.
public as it can be. Okay, so do you have anything to read on that, or is
No.
that just, okay?
No, just informational.
Okay. It would be nice, okay. So we don't know our expenditures and we don't know our revenue
Well, you,
for
Do.
all of our, okay, where's,
what else are you
you've
looking
got
for?
your, no, what I'm asking, these are CDs, this is our savings.
And our checking accounts.
And we have our checking accounts.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I want to make sure I'm,
And then your
looking at the right
expenditures
thing.
are the vouchers you just approved
right,
that have been paid
but they
the last
haven't
2 weeks.
been done in here. Okay,
Because this
So,
is a
all right.
quarterly report that I have to give to the board.
yes, I understand that, but I'm looking for something on a regular, like twice a month kind of thing, so that we know
It's not
where we're
required,
standing.
and that's
Well,
why
either is
I,
the quarterly report required,
Yeah.
but that's okay. I understand, okay,
the quarterly is the only thing required.
okay.
If you want something else, you can always email me and ask me or call me.
No, this board can accept that or reject it, and
Okay.
obviously they're satisfied with what they get, so that's okay. I'm good with it.
It's always been quarterly for all the other
I've-
treasurers that have been here.
I get it. I certainly get it. Okay, do we need to accept or reject? Okay, so it's an informational. Interesting. Okay, so item 11 would be your committee appointments, and there is none. Item 12, which is township reports, and we have two. I thought I saw you come in, the safe routes to school.
I am Elise Erickson, so I am the SRTS coordinator. I'm going to be going over previous things that we've done, the history of it, and then what we plan on doing and what's coming up ahead of schedule. So in addition to the 2 grants that we've already got received, the infrastructure, which is going to cover the sidewalks, that's going to be in the 2024-2025 programming. And then we also received 2 additional grants. One was already approved for the 23-24 school year. And then also the Meyer grant. So the Meyer grant is going to allow us to get 2 bikes and 2 helmets for the bike rodeo, which I will speak about in a moment. So thank you, Taylor, for the help in doing the Meyer grant. We got that successful, so thank you for that one. And then we've also done our first crossing guard training, which consisted of 13 volunteers that are now able to do crossing guard. At the training, we went over all of the safety equipment that we've got, and we should now, thanks to the conversations, we should now be able to have all the gear that will work for all the volunteers. In that group, that consisted of members, community members, in addition to some of the school staff. We need more volunteers to be able to make this successful. So if you're interested in helping out with the crossing guard, in addition to walking bus, please email me. I will give out pamphlets. It'll have my email address in that. And we'll have additional training in the fall, which will help us kick off the walking bus. So thank you to Sergeant Hamilton and Officer Bailey for taking the time out of their day to do all of our training and make it an enjoyable time. And then one of our larger projects that we have undertaken is the Story Walk. It's a self-guided tour walk. It's going to be up at James Cousins Park right in town. There's going to be several stands, and it's going to be pretty much a picture book, and each book is going to have different activities on each stand, and it's going to circle around the border, perimeter, outside of James Cousins Park. And the stands have already been ordered, and so our reveal date we are hoping for is June 10th to have that all set up and ready to go. The events that are coming up is going to be the K Roundup. We will have a table at the elementary school. It's going to have additional information. We'll have pamphlets, flyers, some of our crossing guard gear that you guys can look at. This would be a great opportunity to come in person to ask because we will have people at the table. You can ask your questions, get more information there. And then also that would be a great time to volunteer for the crossing guard in addition to the bike rodeo event that we will be hosting. So, June 10th, Bike Rodeo. It is the last Saturday of, it's the last week of school. It's that Saturday. We will be doing a bike rodeo event at the Bath Township Public Library parking lot. This is where the kids can learn, practice, and demonstrate their bicycle handling skills in a fun, non-competitive atmosphere. As y'all have known, Park Lake is doing their event. We are working with them. Part of their event, some of their kids are going to come to us. And so if you are going to be doing that and that is your kid, please make sure that they register so that we know the numbers that we are expecting. And so Park Lake is doing that with us as well, and that's been great. And then the library themselves are doing a summer reading kickoff. So we are going to have bouncy house, and the fire truck is all going to, it's going to be a happening day, June 10th in town. So parking lot is going to be, the parking for that event is going to be at the elementary school. And this will give everyone the opportunity to see what the walking bus is going to be like, which we are going to kick off in the fall. You do need to register for our event. All that information is on our Facebook page. Christine McAllister has been amazing in keeping up our Facebook page, and so you can go to that to get additional information to also register. While I'm doing thanks to her, I'm going to do a thank you to Becca Slocum, who has also been helping out with the bike rodeo in addition to the story walk. And then lastly, Christy Reynolds and the Bath Township Library for helping host the event. And if you're interested in volunteering in the event, please let me know. Again, my email will be in these packets that I'm going to hand out to you guys, and I can help you guys get set up. And this will be only a success if the community comes together to make it happen. So here are these, and then any questions that y'all have. Yes?
Not necessarily a question, but it's a thought. There's an enormous amount of information that you have, and you are doing an amazing job. Is there some way that we could have a report that speaks to that as opposed to the video that I have to rewatch in order to catch everything?
What specifically are you looking, what information are you looking for?
Everything that you said.
It's in that packet.
No, I get this.
There's the
So
safe
this
route.
is, the handout is something instead of a report. Is that it? Is that what you do?
That's
Okay.
in addition to, I mean, we've got it on the Facebook page. There's emails that you're CC'd to as well.
I like this.
The paper?
No, I like being able to,
Oh, notebook?
yeah, be able to look at it and read it and mark it up, and, because
Mark away on the pamphlet.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the pamphlet is really in place of any kind of a written report.
For now,
Okay.
it is.
No, I appreciate it, because you are doing so much. I couldn't keep up with it, so hopefully
I mean, you want my notes?
Our-
Okay.
you're,
We can share the quarterly reports
Oh, yeah.
that sent to Michigan Fitness Foundation with the township, just as.
Is that what if you want that, I can send.
well, it'd have to come to my house, so if that would be okay. No, anything that you've got,
I can hand deliver it.
yeah, that would be super, that would be nice. Got steps, Judy, so remember that. No, that will work. I'll hold you to that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Enormous amount of information. Park Lake Advisory also has an enormous amount of information.
Good evening, folks. Dan Hayes, Chair of the Park Lake Advisory Board. So, do you want the Cliff Notes summary of what's in there, or did you all read
That's
every
a-
word of it and memorize?
Good question.
So, yeah, open up for questions, and I'll have a couple comments toward the end, but go ahead.
No, the only question I had after reading this, which actually it was kind of like, safe routes to schools. There's an enormous amount of information that you give. The only thing that I had, there's only one question, believe it or not, that I actually have after reading it is, has there ever been a thought to dredging it?
Lots of thoughts.
Yeah. Is there a dollar amount that you've ever?
We haven't looked into specific dollar amounts.
Okay, would you prefer, maybe I should put it the other way, with all of the herbicides that you've used over the years and the success and the failures that you've had with them, the idea of dredging these species, is
Yeah.
that anything that's ever,
So, as a preliminary, I've spoken with the Eagles, now the department that covers the
Yes.
permitting for dredging. And I think in the past, I've provided some folks with a link to their permitting process is an open process. So any permits applied for dredging, you can look at to see what examples there are. And two items. One, it's tremendously expensive.
Right.
And Eagle is really very limited in how many they approve. In other words, the pre-work to even consider dredging, you have to do a permit application, and that's
Okay.
very expensive. And then the likelihood of that being successful is pretty low, given what I've seen in their permits, you know. Just throwing out rough numbers, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a
Right.
study pre to the permit, and they still get denied. And that's because, you know, where we have in Park Lake, we have a lot of native vegetation.
Yes.
And the laws are pretty clear about dealing with native vegetation. The Eagle's very limited on allowing any disruption of the sediments.
So as the lake gets smaller, which it is because
Every
of
lake does.
what's happening with all the species and et cetera, the dredging would not be something that we would look at as an expense because it is too expensive and because the process itself is complicated. Is that,
Well, complicated and unlikely to succeed. Again, the arguments for dredging.
Okay.
Historically, a lot of folks know Lake Lansing was dredged. That was
Yes.
a different era, just a different legal era, different mindset era, really, about dredging.
do they still spray with herbicides in Lake
I'm not
Lansing?
familiar with what Lake Lansing does.
Well, I kind of, does it,
They
somebody?
probably do. I mean, that.
I heard a yes.
That is largely where most folks have
Okay.
gone to. There are other methods of, you know, attempts to control aquatic vegetation.
So what happens when the lake reaches a point where,
I mean, I'm gonna be
Okay.
glib. I'm gonna
Okay.
be clear.
No.
Every lake eventually fills in. That's a natural process, 'cause
right?
gravity
No,
works
I
that way.
understand that.
And we as humans love them. We happen to live in an area, we have lakes because of the glaciers. We have that as our beneficial
Yes.
legacy. But you look around, like over at Rose Lake, you can see where eventually they become smaller, they become a bog, they become land. That's the fate. So if you
Okay.
go south of our glaciated areas where lakes have had longer to kind of fill in,
Okay.
very few natural lakes. We have a lot of reservoirs when
Yes,
you go
we do.
south, but
A
natural
lot of
lakes.
gravel pits.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
So again, you know, we've talked a lot about it, and again, truthfully, the amount of time and effort to even get the process started and the likelihood of it succeeding is small enough, it wouldn't be a wise
Yeah, because I
use
was
of
just wondering if
resources.
over time, the dollars that are put into the herbicide and that residents, like, you had,
Yeah.
22 that,
Yeah,
you know,
there's,
went ahead and sprayed. If that over time, you wouldn't have to do it, but it sounds like
with,
you're still gonna have the
still gonna
invasive
have,
species
you're still
that
gonna have,
still
again,
keep coming
Lake
in.
Lansing's a great example. Lake Lansing was dredged, and we
Right.
still have
And they still,
problems, and again, you have soil, you have nutrients, you're gonna have plants, you know, they're just, you know, the analogy is your yard.
okay.
Unless you herbicide or actively go pull every one, which somebody's welcome to go swim in
Some
the
of
lake
them
and pull
have
every one.
done that,
There are
yes.
places that, I mean, there are
Yeah.
places that have divers that go pull weeds, and it's, again, it's horribly expensive.
Right.
Some people view that's the way they wanna go, but again, it's,
But not as a group,
pardon?
not as a group. Individuals do it.
Yeah, well, they
Okay.
hire people, but, you know. like-
Oh, no, I understand that, but it's an individual that hires it and pays for it.
Yeah.
It was an amazing, wonderful report.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciated it.
Yeah, so any other
So thank you.
questions? I do have some kind of summary comments and stuff. No other questions? So a couple things I think, you know, with the Park Lake Advisory Board really appreciates the board's kind of willingness to invest in the lake. You know, we highlight, that's not true in every community, and again, you know, we love the lake, that's why we're all on the board. And again, the fighting, the kind of natural processes of filling in and all these invasives, you know, that takes a fight. It's, if you passively back off, the lake would be, you know, not unusable, but it'd be a duck paradise. It would be very different. So we appreciate that greatly. The other that I think is really good news, one of the highlights is, in 2021, we had issues with geese pooping on the beach or some other form of E. coli that closed the beach for extended periods in 2021. Goose Busters with our recommendation was used to oil the eggs. And last year, there were almost no geese on the lake throughout much of the summer, and the beach was usable. It was usable 2 days ago, which was crazy. But again, we appreciate the board's willingness. That was actually a fairly small investment monetarily, but the payoff, in our opinion, for beach users, lake users was huge. And for public image of Bath, that's huge. You know, that I think these are things to again, thank you all for, again, keeping those investments where I think it was pretty cost effective. The final one that's not really in the report in detail much is it does concern the nature trail. And I guess I'd express some disappointment in the information flow. You know, we are an advisory board, but we can only advise on things that we hear about. And personally, I prefer them to come in writing, because that way they are clear and accurate. You know, and we really haven't gotten much direction on that. Now, I understand there was legal kind of, you know, I guess squabbles is one word for what was going on with the property boundaries and this and that. And to be honest, there may be alternative options that may be thought of, you know, even without having to deal with those. But I guess we'd appreciate much if we could kind of be further in the loop, to the extent the board wants us to be. You know, if they'd rather have the Parks and Rec Committee deal with it, truthfully, that's fine with me, or whatever other group. But again, I'd express similar concerns. You know, we were under the understanding things were moving forward a year or more ago, and again, I understand things get stalled, but for a lot of us, there was a meeting, a pretty big meeting, with lawyers and the drain commissioner and that, and I wasn't able to attend, but some of our board members who did attend came away just as confused as ever, to tell you the truth. Again, and I've been advised to listen to it, and truthfully, if they didn't understand it, I'm not gonna gin out any deeper understanding. So again, I'd ask if, you know, there are impediments that you see to this going forward, because again, if money's been allocated, that's apparently not the impediment, there are other impediments. If you'd share them with us, we'd like to at least offer advice, because you all are the decision makers, we're just advisors on that. But we can only advise on what we're kind of given information to.
That's true.
So, any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Have you all talked at all about what the township could do with our ARPA funds that would support your work?
I'm not familiar with the ARPA funds, so no.
The rescue plan funds from the federal government?
So we haven't talked, again, in the sense of, I'm not sure what you'd want to use them for, I guess.
No, what do you want to use them for is what I want to know.
The nature trail would be the primary.
I think that's a healthy conversation for your board. We haven't figured out what to use those for yet, so there's about 1.3 million that we're gonna have to decide in the next, 18 months, 20 months, how to use.
So,
If
yeah.
you all had a strong recommendation, it would be something for us to at least respond to.
Okay, good. I will, I think, again, to be honest, I think, the lake, the improvements I could see, maybe aren't that big. Again, the dredging, truthfully, that whole amount probably wouldn't cover the dredging. So as a taxpayer, I don't think that'd be a great use of our money. We have other priorities. Perhaps some things with the beach, and the other one would be the boat launch renovation. I think that again, those would be good ideas. So we'll take that up at our next meeting. Appreciate kind of telling us we might have money to think about. I'm pretty cheap, so I don't usually think of spending money.
But we have to spend it, otherwise it goes back to the federal government, so.
Boy, I love when people tell me I have to spend money. So, all righty. So with that, I'm probably gonna end because the other business doesn't involve me. So, okay, again, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. That takes care of Dan with the annual report. It was excellent done. So if you guys haven't read it, sit down and at least scan it because it's well worth time. Okay, item 13, unfinished business. A, items for introduction and discussion. You're up.
Good evening. I'm Adam Smitty. I'm a consultant with Guidehouse based out of Detroit, and we've been secured by the county to work on their American Rescue Plan funding, spending, compliance, reporting, as well as some project planning. Most notably in Clinton County is broadband. And I was asked to appear to give a brief update and answer any questions you might have on the plans going forward, any other thoughts that anybody might have around broadband. So just to give a brief overview of where things are at. So we did apply to what's called the Robin Grant program through the state of Michigan. That grant program is from funding, money coming from the ARPA overall and the Capital Projects Fund. So that is for $238 million in available grant money. Overall, the state, so that application was due in March 14th. We submitted with our partner, Frontier Communications North. Overall, the program received 154 applications from 40 different applicants for over $1.3 billion in grant funding requests, covering $2.3 billion in total project costs. So those projects came from 72 counties across Michigan. Our application is for $27.7 million in total project costs, requesting $16.3 million in total grant funding from the state of Michigan. Of that project, Frontier is covering $8.9 million in project costs. Clinton County is also matching $2.4 million in total project costs for 3,600 locations here in the county. Part of the analysis that we conducted was, okay, how big of an impact economically and job-wise will this project have on the county? So our firm, I put together a model for that, and we saw that it would have a total of 1,700 jobs would be produced in the county as a result of the project, and not just actually building broadband, but after broadband and in terms of economic growth, impact from having access in the rural areas, and would have a total GDP impact of $31.4 million, which is about a 1.4% impact on GDP for the county overall across all industries. So right now, we're waiting to hear back from the Michigan High-Speed Internet Office on their decisions on these grants. They said they would have a decision out by the first week of May, so waiting pretty anxiously over the next couple of weeks for them to communicate their decisions on those. Overall, do feel really great about the grant application, knowing what has been happening across the state with other municipalities, other private providers. By far, the work that we've done over the past year and a half to tee up that application, I think does set our application aside from theirs, and has actually been highlighted in their own newsletter a couple of times that they've made available to the public. So with that, that is a broad update. Happy to answer any questions. Sure.
Anybody else have questions? I've always got questions. All right, my question is, we're included in the east part of this plan.
Yes, ma'am.
What portions of Bath Township are you looking at?
So we looked at initially census tract. So when we put out the original call for responses to these plans, which was late last year, the state of Michigan had not published their maps to say which locations would or would not be eligible. So we went with census tract locations, and we went with the northern census tract in Bath, which is basically just above I-69 going north to Victor Township. So it sort of covers the northern portion as well as a bit of the eastern portion heading to the southeast. And part of the response, initial response from Frontier, we didn't have very many locations in Bath Township, but they did add several locations after in Bath in the ultimate application we submitted.
So you're looking at it like a strip. So you're going north and east?
Yeah, so if you, it's basically, I believe it's Clark Road, south of Clark Road, headed east, and tapering over towards the, toward the highway I-69 on the eastern end.
Do you know how many homes that affects?
So that whole area, I gotta pull it over here. It's hard for
South
me
Clark,
to,
69.
Do you have this map?
I was gonna ask if it was in the layers that are part of Fetch GIS, but other than
Because I
that,
don't
I'm
think
not
we've
aware
seen
of any.
this map.
it should be in the layers part of Fetch GIS. It has,
Okay.
well, last time I looked, it was there. I don't know if they pulled it down or whatnot, but it was there like a month or month and a half ago.
Okay, because we've been watching that pretty heavily, and there wasn't anything, I don't think, south of Cutler? Is that there?
I'm checking right now.
Okay,
I don't see anything south of Cutler.
If not, I have it up on a presentation
South
that we
Clark.
published with the Board of Commissioners.
No, Cutler.
Which does have the map
Oh,
as
okay,
well.
because I had Clark. That's what I thought he said.
South of Cutler.
So you're saying Clark, they're saying Cutler. What is it? Which is it?
I'm
Clark?
saying Clark.
So Clark Road is right up here.
Right,
So
no,
it's
I
south of
understand that.
Clark, not
So-
north
That's
of Clark.
Clark.
So
it's
north
this-
of Clark Road, there's a number of locations, and then if you head east on Clark Road, it looks like it's near,
Okay,
all right, forgive me, because it's kind of blurry and it's a PowerPoint presentation.
no,
So there's a road that heads north-south, goes straight to Lake
Upton?
Victoria. Yeah, so it's right at Clark and Upton. I believe there's a big bulk of homes over there. If I can project a presentation, I can show you, or if you pull up Clinton County Board of Commissioners Ways and Means Committee meeting from March 23rd.
Ways and Means, March 23rd.
So
That has,
the current fetch map doesn't show anything south of Round Lake Road.
which
For
is
us.
the northern county border, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So-
no, that is different now. I can hand you my phone, you can take a look.
No, it's okay. Which
No, I'm
board
just
meeting were you
curious.
referring to?
Ways and Means Committee meeting,
March 23rd.
Okay.
There'll be a slide in there of a map produced by Frontier. that was
Okay,
part of these.
that would be helpful.
Taylor's pulling it up.
The letter that we got for immediate release from Penny George, is that what you're, okay.
Correct.
I wanted to make sure that the information that because the numbers don't quite match. In other words, they have approximately 2.5 million in the county rescue, you are 2.4.
Right.
So there's an adjustment in there.
So the amount that was matched overall is in the resolution that the county also passed supporting the
Okay.
project. But I believe it was 2.4 million.
Okay. And that's at the Ways and Means, so if we pulled that up, okay.
Correct, so that resolution went to full board as
Yep.
well, which probably was the following Tuesday.
You know, as long as the resolution's there, regardless of when it goes, at least for us. Okay. No, that helps. That helps me. Is there any other questions?
So north of Clark, up to Victor Township,
Correct.
basically, nobody in Bath is getting any help.
No, there's a number of residents in Bath that'll be getting help, and also.
But it's
Okay, I'm
south
on
of
the north
Clark,
end.
though, you said.
I'm on the north end.
I mean, you said north of Clark and east towards Upton, there's one little section. So most of our people that don't have internet are north of Clark by me on Cutler Road.
So, additional context, I
But you're
think.
further west than.
Well, I know,
than it would
but
be,
I
so
mean,
you're-
I'm the furthest out in the township you can go on Cutler.
So am I.
Right?
Yes.
I
That's
mean,
why I was, Curious
I'm
about
just
that.
concerned because I know people on Upton Road, north of Clark, that's where we need the internet
Sure.
for our people. So I'm just concerned that it wasn't on the map we originally
that's
got.
okay. I know,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at Ways and
correct.
Means. that I-
So
Okay.
we did continue to work with Frontier to reshape the map for this particular grant.
Okay.
So some additional context I think is important when it comes to Frontier as a partner, right? Is Frontier covers the majority of county residents already with their existing service footprint. And part of this grant project is this helps them kickstart upgrading their entire network across the entire county. So, these locations that were proposed, we were very limited in the maps that were published by the state of Michigan into where we could apply for the program. And a number of these locations, particularly on this side of the county and in this township, had previously been claimed by a fixed internet service provider, fixed broadband provider called Point Broadband. So they were providing microwave services.
Called what?
Point Broadband. So it made it very difficult because of these claims that they were making, that they were providing adequate speeds, which they were not and don't even make available commercially, for us to have as many homes as possible part of this application, particularly on this side of the county. So we did effort to sort of disprove their claims, but our partner Frontier as well said that they could only include some of these additional locations right now because they could not do the engineering workup in the time frame that the state of Michigan allotted to have a successful application. So the engineering workup that they had done previously for our process is really what went into this particular application. We've had a lot of back and forth between the month of January and when we ultimately submitted in March of what that map was going to look like, trying to, again, maximize the number of homes, with our partners particularly, that were going to be included in the application, like Bath Township, Victor Township, and others.
Okay.
So, I just do want to note too, Frontier, like I said, they do want to expand their entire network here in the county. So there was a press release, I believe, that went out, and that information is accurate, where there are an additional 8,000 homes that could benefit from this program once grant funds are awarded. Right now, we are constrained to the for the 3,600 homes that we did make the application for, because we thought those would be the most easily approvable locations as part of our application to the state of Michigan.
How can we improve communication from the county? Most of what you just shared, we were not aware of.
Sure.
In fact, we were assuming the opposite, that we were not at all included based on the maps that we had access to.
So, it's a good question, and honestly, you know, I don't speak for the county. We do have a task force meeting that did meet before this sort of application, these maps were finalized, where we did brief out to the task force, you know, where those results were at that point in time. And the next scheduled meeting will not be until after MyHigh makes a decision on their process. So, I mean, otherwise, you know, I would recommend speaking to your county commissioner and what more you would like to see or would not like to see. I'm happy to show up as always to any meeting that I can.
Well, we have a member of the task force.
I was gonna say,
sitting
we
back
have-
there, and his understanding and communication to us is that Bath Township was not included.
Well, yeah, at that time, and when we did have that meeting, that is correct.
So how can the task force give us new information if they don't have it?
So, the task force was appointed by the board, and it is, subject to the Open Meetings Act, and they did not have a public meeting for us to read out this information for the board as a whole. You know, so it's up to, the county administrator to make sure that those meetings are scheduled and that information is disseminated. It's not, exactly approved to be doing so.
So what you're saying is you didn't have a meeting? Is that, if I'm understanding what?
We
Trustee
did have
Huber-
one before the final application was.
Okay, but you haven't had one since that time to change the numbers, is that?
Correct, so the numbers
Okay.
overall, the numbers have basically stayed the same. Some
That's what I
areas have lost and
thought.
some areas have gained. Bath has gained is really, the result.
In the grant application that went, did you include the ARPA funds that we had allocated?
So not
No.
right now. Overall, the county has designated $3 million in ARPA funds, and we said that unless we needed it, we would not come back and ask to secure those and transfer those funds. So right now, no, we did not call those out specifically. We did let the state of Michigan know, however, that a number of municipalities, including Bath Township, did support the project and has discussed providing a financial contribution from their ARPA funding toward the project to sort of show for us, which is a huge portion of the application, community support, which is great.
Okay, thanks.
Possible for you to send us an updated map? We're looking on the Ways and Means and we didn't see it anywhere. So if you could share that with us.
Sure, yeah, I can send you-
I can send it to the rest of the board, or you could,
Absolutely.
if you have their addresses, you could do that as well.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll send it as soon as
I appreciate that.
Karen, could you do some sort of communication to the county administrator? He clearly is the one who is holding all the cards here.
I
To ask
can.
for regular updates, whatever
Updates.
that looks like?
I can.
Thanks.
All right, just so I'm understanding, a regular update would be when you meet, or what's a regular update? Help me, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand regular update.
Whatever he would take that to mean, is what I would say.
Okay, all right, so that's kind of, we're asking them whenever they have different information to just let us know.
If I were
Is it-
him, that's how I would
Okay,
interpret it.
okay, nope, just trying to understand what you mean by regular update. Okay. When they're not meeting. So that's, and your next meeting is gonna be after,
The next task force meeting will be after the
Okay.
grant applications are decided from the state. I meet with them right now every other week. Things, while we're waiting, things are a little bit slow. We've got a couple other projects that we're working on them. But,
Sure.
we're actually not meeting this week.
okay. Is there any other questions? Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's- Okay. After Mr. Smitty's discussion, we have, this is a little confusing to me. Do we still have a park and recreation? We have a Recreation Advisory Committee.
That's what I
But the
thought.
plan is called a Parks and Recreation Plan. That is,
Oh,
that is
okay.
how the DNR titles that plan.
Well, that's because okay, so it should say Park and Recreation Plan, correct? Is that just so?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm giving an update on both plans that are occurring
No,
currently.
I appreciate that. I wanted to make sure that I had the correct
Sure.
way of announcing it. All right, so we are on unfinished business, number 13, A, small b, is it Parks and Recreation Plan and a non-motorized plan update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So both of these plans have officially kicked off their process. So Tanya de Oliveira, I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. She is our project manager from Williams and Works, the firm that we are contracting with for both of these plans. She attended the most recent Planning Commission and Recreation Advisory Committee meetings to discuss the work scope for both plans with those groups, as well as the project timeline for both plans. So they will be coming back to the Planning Commission and the Recreation Advisory Committee sometime in June with a draft of the community survey that they will be working on. The survey is going to be about 15 questions and will include parks and recreation and non-motorized trails and pathways topics, so that we don't have to do two separate surveys and we're able to just combine those into one and have overlapping questions that relate to both. The survey will hopefully be launched sometime in July, after that draft is brought back to both groups and they provide feedback, and then they are able to go back and finalize that survey. The planning department has already begun some of their mapping work in coordination with Williams and Works, and they're going to begin doing sidewalk inventories as well for the non-motorized pathways. So that's the update that I have currently. If there's any questions, I can try to answer them.
Anybody else have questions? I have a question. When you talk about the non-motorized plans, that's located where in Bath Township? Or,
I don't understand. I'm sorry.
okay, nope, your non-motorized plan,
Uh-huh.
where is that?
Where's the plan?
Yes, where's it gonna take place? Webster Road, Clark Road?
Oh, so that encompasses the entire township, and Miles can speak more to that from his
Okay.
expertise, but it's basically just future planning of how non-motorized pathways and trails will be used within the township. That can include sidewalks,
Okay,
trails,
that's what I was gonna
things
ask,
of that nature.
sidewalks. And those funds are coming from, in order to do this park and recreation plan and your non-motorized plan, the funds to put this in practice is coming from where?
I don't believe that there has been a formal budget amendment yet,
Okay.
has there? There was a budget amendment. I don't recall
Okay.
where those were taken, though, from Superintendent Hildebrandt could speak to that.
Where's those dollars coming from?
I'll have to pull out the documentation, but this board approved that at a previous meeting.
I don't care. Where's it coming from?
I can't answer you right now.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying is I can't answer you
So we
right now.
don't know where they're
We do
coming
know,
from.
I just don't have that information
Okay.
accessible to me at this meeting.
Because that doesn't have, for some reason, you don't have that dollar amount.
The board already approved that dollar amount.
No, I understand that, but it's not here. That doesn't tell us what that dollar amount is.
We already
So-
know, we voted on it.
Approved it.
Okay, then how much is it?
Something like $38,000.
Thank
Marie.
you. That helps. Dollar amounts do make a difference. Okay. Thank you, Till, appreciate it. Is there any other questions with that? Okay. We have we'll have 13A, small letter C, Board of Water and Light Property Transfer.
Thank you. When Bath Charter Township transferred its ownership of a public water system to the Board of Water and Light back in 1998, with a supplemental agreement in 1999, we failed to also transfer property rights for 6 properties in the township. One was 6050 Coleman Road, which contains public water infrastructure, specifically wells, currently operated by Board of Water and Light, and township interests and easements over 3 other properties with water infrastructure currently being located in 3 separate condominium complexes. So on May 15th of 2023, Chris Patterson of Fahey Schultz, who has been working on this issue with me, will be attending the Bath Charter Township Board of Trustees meeting to have a discussion with this board as to those pieces of property and how you would like to convey those properties to the Board of Water and Light, whether it be to give them the property or to provide them with an easement, so that we can finalize this as it should have been done back in the late 1990s.
So Board of Water and Light have been using it, we just haven't, okay. Okay. Any other? You got a question?
Surprised.
Surprised?
I'm surprised that when we give them the water in the wells, that it wasn't done at that time.
Yeah, it's paperwork, so.
20 years?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Well, I was, that's why I was asking. They've been using it apparently, yes.
Seems like it took them a while to catch this one.
Well, so did us. I mean, we were just as bad as they were, and that's what I guess I'm trying to understand. So they've been using the easement, we've been allowing it for the last 20 years. Now we're gonna make it official.
That's what they're requesting.
God, I hope so. Okay. All right.
Well, I know we
appreciate
didn't
that.
have the resources to keep up with all of the testing and everything that had to be done. And that was the reason they did it, but I thought they would give them the property at the same time.
Not according to records that we've
Yeah.
referred to.
Okay.
They have the same records, don't they? I mean,
They're the ones that prompted the issue with the
right,
township.
so their records and our records match.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're asking
That's-
for us to fix the error.
Got it. All right, our next one is large B, items for action. Second reading and adoption of zoning ordinance. Miles, would you believe it? I think you're about the only one this is the only one that you have, it looks like.
One item tonight.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Yeah, we're getting there. All right, the item in front of the board tonight is the second reading and adoption of, or the proposed adoption of the zoning ordinance amendment. It's numbered 31.83. This is what we've been calling the housekeeping or the general update ordinance. A series of changes throughout the Article 3 and the zoning chapter 31, and also 2 chapters within, or 2 sections within chapter 68. It's basically just updating language, trying to make some of the definitions a little more specific, trying to move different definitions into the sections where they should have been in the first place, renumbering some of the sections to match their other sections, correcting a couple spelling errors in a couple of sections, just general housekeeping ordinance stuff that the planning commission felt could come to the board in bulk. Any questions?
Doesn't seem to be.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute, got one.
No, I don't have a question. I was just gonna make a motion.
Okay,
I'd move approval of the second reading and adoption of zoning ordinance amendment number 3183 as presented.
Second.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Bensy?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
yes,
Mr. Fields Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
nope. Miles knows why, so that's, we've talked. All right, item 14, for those that are following, new business. This is for introduction and discussion. We have strategic planning, staffing, and township facilities.
Thank you. What I've provided you tonight is a summary of the efforts that township staff have been taking to work towards strategic planning, and mainly outlining for you what currently is operations and the delivery of services and how those can be improved with both your input and direction. It's been pointed out several times over the last few meetings that this board has lacked a strategic plan. At the time I brought the topic to you, there was interest by one or two people, but mostly a non-starter by this board to have those discussions. So what I wanted to do was have staff work through some of that so we could bring that back to this board, giving you some information to work from and hopefully provide direction on. And I will be engaging the board in those discussions about the workload of staff and the consideration of any changes that work might cause. Questions, please?
Questions for the superintendent at this time? Because I have one. Of course. Of course, you know that. My only question with this, or a question with this, has to do with the fact that it's strange to me that staff would do a strategic plan. That, yes, it is. That normally that's a discussion that takes place.
I tried to engage this board.
Yes, you did, and you asked, and I was the one.
You
who-
were.
Yeah, I was the only
You
one
were.
that, answered your question. I understand that. That's why it's a little surprising that this hasn't been taken more serious with the board. And it appears as if the staff is taking more serious than what our own board has. And I find that a little upside down.
So staff does this work anyways, so in an
Yes.
effort to compile it and bring it to you, I had hoped that it would
Okay.
be a starter of a conversation of, yes, this is where we should be putting our resources, or no, we shouldn't be putting our resources here, but letting you
Okay.
know what staff currently has on their plate in order to have those discussions.
And what happens if that discussion falls on deaf ears like it did before?
We keep doing what we've been doing,
Which is,
working.
so working.
The
so
clerk is going to
strategic-
continue doing elections,
No,
and staff will
I'm
continue to
talking about
support that.
strategic planning. What happens?
If I can't engage this board in that endeavor, then I can't
Okay.
engage the board in that endeavor.
And you just drop it? We just don't
No,
have a
I-
strategic plan?
Well, we don't to this point, but
Okay.
this board has been unwilling to engage in that conversation.
No, that's
So
what
if
I'm
the
saying,
board would
so-
like a facilitator to engage them in that conversation, there are a myriad of ways that we could
Sure.
engage, but none of those have been taken up.
No, they haven't, which is kind of strange. But anyway, okay.
How would you
so-
suggest that we engage the board in that
Oh,
conversation?
you can't, you lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink it.
Well, that was my thought,
That's, there's not much you can do. My question, I guess, had to lend to the fact that never has a municipality not had a strategic plan. And
This municipality, or?
no, most municipalities have strategic plans. They have to. I mean, that's the way they operate. That's how they grow. That's what they're looking at as to what they want to do. This one doesn't seem to have, this board doesn't seem to have that willingness to do. So I guess I'm asking, if it still doesn't have the willingness to do it, are you proposing that staff will go ahead and write a strategic plan instead of the board?
So the planning department, I'll use them for an example. The
Okay.
planning commission
Oh,
works
yeah.
with the planning department to propose a workload, a plan for
Yes,
for the
I have
upcoming
that.
year. You have that.
Yes.
So what I'm proposing to you is that each of our departments, in fact, has something very similar. So we could compile those,
Okay.
bring that to this board, and show you what we are currently working on, and maybe that will help the conversation to move forward of, we should be doing this instead of that, or
Okay.
we'd like to focus our efforts on something else. I
So
think some of that work would be timed well with the recreation plan, the non-motorized plan. We're working on a sewer master plan at this time. I think all those things in combination would give this board a good, realistic idea of what's currently being undertaken.
Okay, so you'd be looking at, for example, the planning commission, because that's the one you started with, came up with this list although the dollar amount's different, but, that we won't consider. So this list,
No, I'm not talking about the ARPA funds.
oh, all right, so.
The
that's
planning
what I guess
commission and the
I'm-
planning department have a work plan for the next year to 2 years.
Is that what this is supposed to be?
No.
That's
That
a
has to do with the
recommendation
ARPA
on how to
fund.
spend ARPA funds.
Right, exactly, so.
Which may also influence your
Exactly.
conversation.
That's, I guess when I look at that, that's what it looks like
Mm-hmm.
to me, is a strategic plan, even though it's ARPA funds
Mm-hmm.
that they're looking at. And of course, there's pushing for the township facilities, and I kind of get that. And I also get the roads, I mean, I get the whole thing. I understand that, but what I'm struggling with is, what you're asking is that the staff, so there'll be more than one report. What you're saying is.
I'm going to
if you-
compile them for you.
Okay. Oh, you do that, okay. All right, that's mostly what I'm looking at. So do you know how many would you compile? Would we be able to say, this is what this staff looks for, this is what assessing looks like, this is what?
And I would tell you what they're working on in the next year to 2 years, so that you could look at that and then plan in that amount of time, a year to 2 years, or if you wanted to look out 5 to 10 years.
Well, usually a strategic plan goes out a number of years, doesn't it?
I understand that, yeah.
Okay,
So
so we're not looking at,
you're going to use it as a jumping off point, is what my suggestion is.
a jumping off point. That means this year would be the jumping off point.
Marie, I think what
2023.
she's saying is she's going to use this as impetus to get us to do the job that you think that we should do, which is to form a
I think you
strategic
should do,
plan.
it's always been done.
I know, I'm not
That's-
disagreeing with you.
Okay, when you say I, okay, so we're having a number, work on your plans for a number of departments. Is that what am I saying that right?
She's gonna compile the work that's already been done and
I
give it to
get
us
that.
en masse.
And I'm looking for the number of departments that are gonna be compiled.
All of the departments of the township.
And what are all the departments? How many departments is that?
Clerk, treasurer, front office, assessing, planning, police, fire, DPW, senior center, farmer's market. I don't know.
Farmers market?
Uh-huh. That's a department of the township. It has a budget.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so we're talking a minimum of 10,
At least.
okay. Okay, nope. And then we have to determine through our budget what it is that we're looking at, correct?
It's a
The bud-
separate process.
The budget's a tool, but
No, I understand that, but that's what I'm saying, in order to do a strategic plan, you've got to look for budget, correct or not?
it's a component of it, yes.
Okay. And that's coming up, oh, so you look at 23, 24 for your strategic, okay, got it. Okay. I have a whole sheet of questions for the next one. All right. That's the strategic staffing. Now we're going to introduce the attendance at board meetings. And that would be 14B. Well, actually 14A, small b, for those that are following.
Thank you. After having several conversations with board members over the last 6 months to a year, comments being the efficiency of our meetings, the length of our meetings, and what we accomplish during our meetings, I conveyed that to our legal counsel
So it was, okay.
in a way to try to find a solution to help us have more efficient and effective meetings. So the board as a whole did not request this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was one of my questions.
It's based on conversations that are had after
So you
board
did it.
meetings and how we can better run, have these meetings and be more efficient and effective in our meetings.
Excuse me, which board members knew about this? I certainly didn't, and
I
I'm on the
didn't.
board. Did you?
I asked her. You can
You
ask Karen
asked.
any question you want after a board meeting. It doesn't
No,
have
it
to be
doesn't.
done here in a meeting.
It says our understanding that the board has requested a proposal to have legal counsel, et
Sure.
cetera.
I asked her to get us a proposal. Why not?
So
These
one
meetings are
board
taking
member, One
forever.
person, so one board member.
It wasn't
asked.
just me. She had conversations with multiple members here at the board.
Settle
No,
down.
you
It's
are
okay.
accusing us of stuff, Marie.
Good God.
No, you're accusing us of having secret meetings. You just said that.
I don't think that's what she said.
Oh, she did too. She just goes, oh, when was this meeting held? There was no meeting.
No, she said
It was
what
an
board members.
individual going to talk to her.
So it was, no, she didn't say.
I
No,
just,
she's reading
I
this.
completely read it.
Yeah.
Your meeting, Marie.
She what?
So,
Your meeting.
so
Recognize
the
your
right,
thought.
Oh,
including members of the public
kidding.
apparently. So if you're focusing on the
FYI.
first thing, in my relaying that
quite
there
all right.
are conversations that are occurring between board members and myself, the board as a whole did not request this. My relaying of information to the lawyers was that I had conversations with board members. So no, I didn't have any conversations with you, but I've had conversations with other board members. And they weren't necessarily generated by me or other board members. They happen organically after we have a 3-hour meeting and people think it could have gone better.
who's people?
Everybody but you and Cheryl.
Oh, okay. Everybody,
That's interesting.
it is interesting.
It's very interesting.
Well,
All
to be
right.
clear, you two
So-
don't seem too happy about how the meetings run either. I mean, are you happy with how efficient we are in meetings?
Not necessarily. Sometimes yes, sometimes
Great.
no.
Then I think we're on the same page.
No,
No.
not when things
No.
are, when apparently Maria and I are the only ones that didn't know about this, and it comes to the board meeting, that this has been, the board.
It's my job
has
as the
requested.
superintendent to watch out for this community and this board and to do what we can to make this board function better. So I took it upon myself to reach out to legal counsel to say, is there a way that this can be done better? Whether that's training, whether that's, some of the observations have been when legal counsel has been here in the past, that the board meetings have gone rather well. And we've actually even gotten out after an hour and a half or 2 hours. So,
You know, that's an interesting statement. I've heard that a number of times. And I find that really interesting.
where did you hear
because-
that from?
From just different pieces.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, guys. So the interesting part for me is the efficiency and effectiveness of, which means that this board, if I'm understanding what you're saying, with the agenda, because you set the agenda, I submit and you decide whether or not it should be there or not be there. You know, that's.
I think
so
what's- I think
in
what's-
setting the agenda, when you have a long agenda, you have
It's not
a
the
long
setting of the
process.
agenda, it's how you all argue about policies and procedures and how
And the
even to
questions
just
that are asked.
take 20 minutes to approve the agenda.
I know, I understand.
Okay.
And that's their job, is to be here and leave within an hour and a half. I mean, that's okay.
They're just asking for
That's-
efficiency.
Yeah, this is interesting, the efficiency and effectiveness, which I don't know what this has to do with the health, safety, and welfare of the community. When you take that upon yourself, I'm looking out there for individuals who are in the
Do you think
gallery.
this community wants board meetings to not be efficient and effective?
I don't quite know what that means. Your concept of efficiency and effectiveness of a meeting may be different than my concept.
Okay,
Of
so if
what
you
that
argue
is.
over procedure and you argue over whether a motion's been made and it's been seconded and somebody won't accept the amendment to a motion, how is that effective
And
or
I'm not
efficient?
sure I'm understanding.
That
where-
happens at almost every meeting. We argue about how motions are
do?
made. You do.
Okay, don't use "we," the board does. You're
The board
still a
does.
staff, so.
I'm
you're
aware.
talking
You've
about
told
the
me many
board
times I'm
many
just
times,
staff.
And I
Mhm.
continue to say that because
Okay.
people need to understand that,
Okay.
that that's part of, a board makes an appointment or hires.
This is
or
a
does.
board meeting. This
So,
meeting,
yes.
these meetings should be efficient and effective, and the population should want that.
The population
So
wants
you're saying
information.
I shouldn't have brought this to you because I
Oh.
saw a better way to do things?
No, this I find very interesting the letter from Mr. Patterson. And I'm not quite sure I'm understanding that the effectiveness or the efficiency of a meeting costs $600 a meeting, which is $1,200 a month, because we have 2 meetings. If you multiply that by 12, you're coming into a lot of money, even if you multiply it by 8, starting in May. I don't know when this starts. It doesn't really
This
say
is an
when it
item
starts.
for you all to vote on.
This is an item, that's correct.
So it doesn't
And-
start until
So it doesn't
we vote.
start until this board says it
So it's
starts.
going to start. So in May, if we have an attorney sitting here, for our efficiency and effectiveness, and I'm not quite sure, does that mean that person stands up and says, I'm here to make this efficient and effective? Because
Come on, Marie.
I can't? Is
Come
that?
on.
No, I'm serious. What's the
I think
purpose?
that's an unserious question.
That's not an unserious question. It's a very serious question.
I have a question.
Because that, go right ahead.
So when Lizzie
Treasurer?
was here
Yes.
2 weeks ago,
Yes.
how many times did you ask her to stand up there and answer questions?
Oh, many times because of the issue.
Well,
Well-
why should she not be here then to answer any of your questions because you have so many
Apparently,
of them?
because our superintendent can't answer them.
No.
Okay,
Honestly, it's
okay.
because
Marie, you
you
don't
don't
tend to
listen to us.
believe us.
I don't,
You don't like our answers. You don't believe what we say.
what?
Honestly, have you watched? your
Marie, you
board
can't be
meetings?
surprised
I've
by
only
that.
I
been
am
here 2
surprised,
months.
but do you guys understand?
I've been
Okay.
here 2 months and I have seen this.
Yeah, I know.
You just told
And
me
it's
I'm
hard
just
on me.
staff, so do you
Yeah,
lend
it's
any
hard.
credibility to anything that I provide to you?
Do I what?
I said, you said I'm just staff, and
Yes.
I'm here to work for this board. Do you
That's
lend
correct.
any credibility to anything that I advise you
The
on?
board obviously feels that, and I think that's part of what they do. I think they've given you an enormous amount of power, which is okay. That's what the board's decided to do. I don't have an issue with that.
I have the powers that are given to me out of state law that are part of my contract.
Yeah, that is part of your contract. But all I'm saying for this runs into an enormous amount of money. And I, for one, don't understand what the purpose of an attorney sitting in the audience at $600 is going to do for us. I don't understand how that helps with our safety and welfare of this community. I don't get that.
Marie, I think one of the ways that I would find this helpful is you often argue with the clerk, you often argue with Taylor, you often argue with me about how to make a motion, when to make a motion, how motions can be made, when seconds can be made. Having someone here who is a legal expert who could guide us to make sure we're doing those things right, whether you're right in that sense or we're right in that sense, would allow us to move faster.
So that's what you need. Where's our parliamentarian?
We don't have
Is
a
that-
parliamentarian.
No, we don't. That's absolutely correct. We should. That's what Kathy did.
But every time Brenda has told you how to do something, you've argued with her. You've told her that's not how it works, and that you've read or talked to somebody and it should be done some other way, and you dismiss her.
Wait a minute. You're doing a blanket statement.
You're right, because
Yeah,
I think
that's-
it covers what you do.
Okay, you can do blanket statements all you want.
Who was the parliamentarian that Kathy had?
Kathy did it, well, she'd been here for how many years? And she learned it?
40?
Oh, you're saying she was the one?
Yes, she was.
Oh, I understood you to say she had no power.
Oh, no, Kathy was the parliamentarian, our clerk. And she learned it like any other parliamentarian learns it, through a book, through time. And we haven't had that. So if there's issues,
I think
I'm
you've
not
had
sure.
a lot of people on this committee that have meeting experience as, and then going to shows and doing things that you don't seem to understand. I did it for 4 years.
So why aren't you the
I'm-
parliamentarian?
I guess
You don't
because I'm
listen
not
to him
Kathy, I
either.
don't know, I don't understand your statement.
Well, my statement is this board needs a parliamentarian, they don't need an attorney.
Okay, would you like me to get a quote for a parliamentarian?
Sit there and do, parliamentarian, you can go to training for that.
Oh, I'm aware. Would you like me to find you one?
MTA can find it, I've already looked into that.
Okay. Well, then you can bring a proposal as well.
Numerous time. Oh, sure. You guys, I'm gonna bring a proposal. You got it?
I had nothing
Okay.
against
That's,
that.
I think that's an excellent idea. and my proposal will have to be written in a certain way, correct?
Come on, Marie.
It'll be written
No,
by the attorneys,
I am dead serious with that. It has to be written in a certain way, correct?
by an attorney. You can't.
You want me to go to an attorney for a proposal?
No, the township would have to have one.
No,
Would
she
have a
just said
contract
I
with
should bring a proposal to the
Different
table.
than our contracts with Karen or with the police chief or with the fire chief.
Now, wait a minute.
If you're gonna
So-
have a contract
so-
for this person, you need to
So
have
your
a contract.
no, I'm looking at, I understand
Oh.
that, but the proposal is not a contract.
It would be if that's what this board chose to do, is have a contract with a parliamentarian.
Does that come after the proposal?
Does the proposal come after the proposal?
No. Does the proposal come first? You know this.
I
And then
I
you
can't
do
follow
a
your
contract.
question, so I don't know. I'm
I
I
sorry.
think it would
know.
be similar to the next
Okay.
item on the agenda where I've asked you to authorize me to apply for an electronics recycling grant. I think it would be authorization, there would be some movement by this board to authorize someone to make an agreement with a parliamentarian.
And the parliamentarian, you're saying to sit in the audience? Or are you saying to train our clerk or to train? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what your
Okay.
proposal is.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. It needs to be written in
You
a
told me I'm just
certain-
staff, so I'm,
You're the one who wanted to do the proposal, Marie. I don't understand why you're asking other people what the proposal should say. It's your
Because it
proposal.
can be rejected.
You're
I'm
right.
asking
By
you
this
what
board,
the
we can reject
process
it.
is for a proposal.
Put together
Does-
the items that it would cover and put together a cost as well as a timeline. Those are the key parts of a proposal.
I understand that.
Then
but
why did you ask if you understand?
I understand what goes in it. My question is there a specific way that you want the proposal written? If not.
Sure, 12-point
that's
font,
That's
Arial.
exactly what I,
8.5.
oh, you're cute.
By 12, by 11.
No, I understand. Yeah, I know.
Jesus Christ is right.
Come on.
I'll go with that.
Watch the
All right.
conversation out there.
You could use this
So-
as an
You know
example, Marie.
I'm,
This is a proposal.
that's what I'm looking at, and everyone says, but she's saying, he writes in the proposal that it's my understanding, or his understanding, it is our understanding, whoever "our" is, I'm assuming it's.
The board.
The board, no, I'm assuming it has to do with their firm, the Fahey, Schultz, and
Oh.
whatever. It's our understanding that the board has requested, nobody asked me about it, requested a proposal to have legal counsel in attendance.
I indicated to you that that was worded incorrectly.
Well, that's
Several
what I'm
times.
asking you. You're proposing, all right, let me try this one more time so everybody here can maybe understand it. Is there a specific way that you'd like to have the proposal written?
No.
Not by Pike?
No.
Not by whatever?
No.
So there is no, okay, thank you. So
You
it
bring
can-
your proposal however you think it should be
And
made.
I'll just call it a proposal.
You call it whatever you want, Marie.
No, I have to call it a proposal, because that's what it is. So there's no, okay, no way to write, to organize, okay? Because this proposal is wrong. The way that he wrote it, it's wrong, okay? Am I saying that correctly?
I don't know.
You just
you're-
said you did it, because he's saying that the board
Marie,
requested it.
she's just
I
saying.
said the
No,
wording,
it's-
that
The
wording.
that line was
is not
wrong.
accurate.
It's not
I think
accurate,
this
and that's-
conversation is an exact example of why we could have some
Yeah,
help
isn't
here.
that interesting?
No, it's not interesting
Yeah,
at all.
it
I
is
think it's
interesting to
sad.
me. It's very
I think
interesting
it's
to me.
incredibly sad.
Okay, so in this proposal that isn't correct, it was with the township superintendent that decided that we needed to have an effective and efficient meeting because you all didn't like it. You felt that, all of you felt this was going too long. You wanted to be in here and out here quickly.
Marie, are you
Okay?
familiar with continuous improvement?
I certainly am.
Then I would see this as a continuous improvement
sure
process.
you would see
Well, I'm
that.
glad you are sure that I would say that, because I am
That's-
saying that.
I
So
am.
we believe, or several of us, whomever has talked to the superintendent, that we collectively, Marie, it's not just you,
It's not-
all of us.
No, we don't. because
Excuse me, please.
Continuous. do it correctly.
We believe that we can do things better and more.
You believe it, not we.
We believe, those of us who have spoken to the superintendent believe that we could do things better, more efficiently.
Okay,
You and Trustee Kellerman have indicated tonight you also believe that we could do things better and more efficiently. So in that sense, we're all on the same page, whether that's a lawyer being here, whether that's a parliamentarian, or any other ideas any board members have. I think we should consider them all, since we all want things to be better.
and I'm going to say this just one more time. If I'm going to bring a proposal for a parliamentarian, as opposed to this incorrect proposal, the wording, and that's all it is the wording wasn't correct, then my issue for being able to be effective and efficient doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be out of here in an hour or an hour and a half. The agenda dictates what it is. And when the agenda is written out and I'm not asked or called or broached on, or you know, or she knows, or these two know, whatever, because they're in the office and they can do it. I used to be. But even when I was, it still didn't come to explain what it is that we're looking at to do. So I'm going to have a lot of questions because they aren't being answered. Do I have the right to go to anybody? Of course I do. But that's a two-way piece conversation. That door opens and closes both ways.
Marie, I think that's incredibly reasonable. I think you're
I'm sure you
absolutely
do.
right in saying that. No one here is saying you shouldn't ask questions. No one here is saying we have to get out in an
Then-
hour. What we're saying is that the efficiency of the meeting, in the structure, in the parliamentarian issues, could run better.
Okay, and you think an attorney sitting there in the audience is going to make that better?
I do, yes.
Okay. Why do you think? Because they'll stand up in the middle of the discussion and say, that's not right?
I think the treasurer pointed out earlier, where one has existed in the last couple of weeks, you have chosen to call on them, I think very smartly, and
Well-
it has helped us move quicker.
Of course I have to call on them because I'm not understanding what you all figured out legally what to do.
That's
So
fair.
I have to ask questions.
That's great. I think
And
you should.
we pay an attorney a lot of money on a regular basis.
Sure.
Because decisions are very difficult to be made.
Yep.
That's not this board's problem, is it? Decisions that need to be made can be made without having to have an attorney there every 2 seconds in order to answer it. So this is why I question whether one sitting in the audience is going to make a difference. And I think there are other people who have asked that, and I don't think it's a good expenditure
I
of money.
think that's a fair question, Marie.
I don't think it's an expenditure of money that we have, that we need. And I think Mr. Curtis made a comment with regards to, 2,000 linear feet for a sidewalk is something, if you want to spend and put away in an account $600 every 2 weeks for sidewalks, I get it. That's $1,200 a month towards a sidewalk. I get that.
What's great is we have enough money, we could do both.
Yeah, if you'd spend it and you do it.
Yeah.
But
We're
that's
sitting
not
on
something-
$1.3 million in
Yes, we
ARPA
are.
funds.
Yes,
We have
we
a
are.
fund balance of over $2 million. I only speak for myself, Marie. I don't find just over $14,000 too much to help us be a better board and work more efficiently on behalf of the taxpayers.
I find that incredibly expensive, in addition
fair.
to the $33,000 that we just ordered in February. I mean, we're spending money like water.
Yet somehow we
And that's
still have a
taxpayer.
large fund
But that's,
balance.
of course we do. That's taxpayer
But what do you mean, of
dollars.
course we do? Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, because we've had 3 million. You know that.
But you can't
You know-
spend and spend and spend and spend and have
No,
a
you
large
can't.
fund
That's-
balance.
Thank you. That's exactly right. So we're spending and spending and spending and spending, and that money's got to come from somewhere.
But somehow we're still putting money in the fund balance.
But we're not expending this yet.
Sure, but do
This
you think
hasn't
the
been decided.
$14,400 is gonna be the difference?
Oh, I do, because that $14,500 for a year of doing it would. Now, you have $9,600 if you're gonna start in May, which is what we're looking at. That would be from May to December.
Sure, but I think you
So
could say that
that's-
about any of the expenditures that you voted for. You voted for a $500,000 road project.
Yep, and I would vote for that over and over because roads
Which
are
is
very
great,
important.
that's your priority. I think
So
efficiency of our
take
meeting
this
is
money,
important.
you take this and add to what it is that you're going to do. This to me is a waste. I'm
That's
sorry,
fair.
a
It's
waste.
okay that you feel that way, Marie,
Yep.
but the rest of us, or at least
I'm
some of
sure
us,
you
feel
do.
differently.
Well, I wasn't included in the discussion.
There
so-
was no discussion, Marie.
Well, all I'm saying to you, somehow, and like the superintendent had said, she made the decision because you had board members that came to you, but she didn't reach out to the board members to ask every board member. It was only this small group of board members, and I'm not sure that's what our constituents expect to have.
I would encourage you to have more conversations with our superintendent.
I would encourage
Hold on,
this-
please, and share with her your thoughts, the things you like, the things you don't like, the things you wish she would do, the things you wish she wouldn't do. My understanding from both of you is that you two are not speaking on a regular basis. I call Karen once a week, give her feedback, give her thoughts, tell her how she can do her performance better.
Yes, you do.
I know,
That's-
I'm telling you that, Marie, and there's nothing shameful about that.
That-
I would
I knew
encourage
that.
you,
That is
Marie,
not
I
something-
would encourage you to
I-
do the same. But it seems from my perspective that you have refused to communicate with her.
Is that it?
That is all I have to say right now.
Good, because for me, spending $1,200 a month is not worth what we need to do. I think our constituents expect more from their taxpayer dollars.
Fair and
So-
reasonable position, Marie.
I understand that, and you know that because you've got the numbers. That's okay. I still feel that way.
I'm
And
not
I need-
arguing with you. I'm saying
what
it's
I
a fair and
need-
reasonable position.
That's, well, I'm sure you do.
I think when this comes up, you should vote no on it.
I plan to.
Great.
And I need to reiterate, I wrote it right here, very clear to persons in the audience, those who are watching from home, and there are those who are watching, and then any media that may be here, that the proposal is potentially going to cost the taxpayers in excess of $14,000 in 2024. It is totally unnecessary, and I have it right here, and a waste of taxpayer dollars. We don't even have our budget for 2024, and we're already dipping into, and it will be, I'm assuming it'll be on the budget. I'm assuming it'll go in with attorney fees, and I'm assuming that we're going to have some amendment for our 2023. So, I
That's how
mean,
things
all
work.
that's going to.
All of the things that we have voted
That's-
for after the
absolutely.
budget, Marie, that's how the process has gone.
That is how the process has gone. Is that correct for you to make those decisions as opposed to opening it up to the community? I don't think so.
Well, the community doesn't get to vote on the budget.
No, they
The
don't.
7 of us do,
That's correct. You spend their money,
as you do, my friend, as you do.
as I try not to. That's the one, that's why I have no votes on many things.
That's great.
And that is great, because that's my option.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I exercise, and it's very, very important to me. So, as you've said, this new business, these are introductions, so this isn't going to be voted on.
Nope.
This is only for discussion. So the thing that we have, are we done?
I don't know, are you finished?
Do you have a question?
No, I
Okay.
read the proposal.
Then we'll go to the next one, which is a large B under, well, hang on a second, let me find it. New business. These are items, this is item for action, which is the electronics recycling grant.
I'm asking for this board's approval to apply for an electronics recycling grant sponsored by the Department of Eagle by May 12th, 2023, to assist in offsetting costs for the 24-25 Tom King Memorial Junk Day.
Is there a motion?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
That's why I
sorry.
had my, you don't give me a bell.
You need a bell. That or just stand up,
I-
one or the other.
I can see that, some do that.
Okay, so you have a motion.
I
And I'm
think we
assuming-
should apply for the electronic recycling grant.
I'll second that.
I was going to figure that Joe would second. Okay.
Mr. Benzi?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yep.
Mr. Fuels Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
I should have asked a question, because I do have a question. I have seen this before, and I've read where this recycling goes to, and it bothers me. Yeah, I'll say yes,
Ms.
because
Wilson?
I
Yes.
believe in it, but it's not.
Thank you.
Do any of you know where it goes? Where these electronics go?
Take it back and take it apart. and
I
use
would
it.
love to know.
Yeah, do you know where?
I know where a lot of our electronics go, overseas. And it's very difficult, but this I don't know. This is why I'm questioning,
You don't know if where they go, this particular,
you know, children taken apart.
Oh, I see what you're
So-
saying. Okay.
Yeah, that's, and I don't know.
that's probably
I'm
all of
assuming.
them the same.
I doubt if we have children that do that, we have adults that do it. But anyway, all right, so now we have items 15, which is superintendent's report.
Thank you. The auditors of Siegfried and Crandall have been on site today and will be on site at least through tomorrow to conduct our audit. They have been working with staff to request items, including our financial statements, our annual reports for MERS and the like, so that they can get the material that they need to go back and conduct their audit of our financial statements. We have hired a new deputy treasurer. At this time, I'll refrain from announcing her name in order to let her give 2 weeks' notice to her employer. At a time in the future, hopefully by the next meeting, I'll be able to share that with all of you. And I can share her resume as well because it's very impressive. And we're lucky that we were able to have her accept our position. We've hired one person for our summer DPW help, and a second person is still needed. So if you know of anybody that's looking for a part-time job this summer, and it starts fairly quickly, as Tom King Junk Day is one of the items that these young people work with us on, please have them apply. There's information on our website. Tickets are still on sale for the Kenny and Dolly Show on April 29th. Tickets can be purchased here at the Township offices for $20 or at the Senior Center when it's open. And they can be purchased at the door for $25 as well. There is information on our website about that event as well, and there are flyers at the front desk if anybody's interested. Tom King Junk Day will occur on that same day, April 29th. The number of people that have signed up for drop-offs is at 200 people at this time, which is pretty good. We still have room for another 100 or more. Pickups, which is for people that are disabled or senior citizens, is up to 129. We'll finish taking those requests through the end of this week, and then we'll begin those pickups next Monday. This last item, I'm sad to share that Paula Clark passed away today. She was the first supervisor that I had the privilege of working with when I came to the township in 2012, and she had just replaced, I think, Tom Schneider when he passed away. So I wanted to share that with all of you.
Is that it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right,
I have a question.
sure.
Did you mention the firefighters? The hiring of the firefighters?
No, we've assembled a committee that's going to be handling the interview process, and we'll be reaching out to firefighters to
That was
join,
their last meeting, wasn't it?
to
Yeah.
interview for the position.
So the committee will make a recommendation to you, because you're the HR director of the township, right?
Correct.
Great.
Question for Karen.
Oh,
Karen,
I'm sorry.
The road committee on doing Eli, or
Hawk Hollow.
blacktopping.
Yep,
I heard it come over, it was higher than normal.
it did. I will be
And-
bringing that issue back to the board
The
for
next
consideration
We gotta get the contract signed.
Correct. But I'm hoping to speak with Doug Steffen so that I can have an alternate plan for this group, a recommendation from them of how we could accomplish
Okay,
some road improvements this year.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Then we're on item 16, which is your public statement 2.
Hi, Rick Curtis, Park Lake Road. Did I hear correctly that Marie, that you have a disagreement with Karen about whether or not you're supposed to do a strategic plan? It's something that you're required by the state. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, for the strategic plan.
Okay,
It's
does
usually done
everybody know that?
by,
Okay.
they've been here longer than
Get
I
your
have.
pencils out. It's Michigan compiled law 125.22605. That's where it starts, and then you can find out what that strategic plan is, and that would be one less thing you have to argue about. The second thing is a question for Jennifer. Now that you're the treasurer, where is the DDA money?
In the DDA account.
There, we have a DDA account, because I didn't see
The
that.
funds
one.
have always been there. They have never moved.
Is it allocated for anything?
Not that I'm aware of. I, new to the board, have they asked for it to be allocated anywhere in the past years?
No.
Then it's sitting in a checking account.
Why are you talking to me like that?
Well, you're calling me out.
I didn't call you out, I asked
You
you
did
where.
too!
Why are you talking to me like this now?
Okay, Rick,
I think he just.
I
asked
asked
a
you where the
question.
DDA money is.
And I
That's
told
a-
ya.
That's a treasure question.
well,
It is a
did
treasure
I answer
question.
it?
You
Yes.
need to grab a little attitude.
Well,
You apparently have an anger management problem, just like your cohort over here on the end.
keep going, Rick.
I will. I can do that. I'm not being paid to be here. So I looked up, and again, thank you, Madam Clerk. This is the Township Board of Meeting Rules of Order. Most of which, I wrote this because they never had it before me, and I'm sorry that Ms. Clark has passed away, but she was probably the main reason that we implemented these rules. And in these rules, I don't, have each of you gotten a copy of this when you came on the board? Because if you haven't, you should read it, because it tells you what you can and can't do.
Well, they've been here a lot longer than most
Right.
of us, so.
I know that
assume-
Ryan updated it a little bit in his first term,
Apparently Sherry
township.
doesn't have one.
but, got an interesting passage here. Item 9, executive sessions. 9.2, the board shall hold executive sessions upon the concurrence of a simple majority only for the following purposes. By the way, I didn't write this, I copied this off MCL, Michigan Compiled Laws. To consider the dismissal, suspension, disciplining, or evaluation of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual, or to hear complaints or charges against such a person, but only when the subject of the proposed action, evaluation, or charges requests the meeting to be closed. You can't do what you did to Marie. She still hasn't been told
No, I haven't.
why she's been locked out of the office. None of you have told her that. None of you asked for her side of the story when this first thing came up. And you talked about keeping our employees safe and away from violence, but you let it sit there for 7 months while she was still in the office. I'm not sure why your timing worked like that. But it's right here, it's right in your own rules. And that I copied from the Michigan compiled law, so it is a law. So you've already broken another law here. Are you familiar with round robin meetings? You can smirk at me all you want, Jennifer, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Are you familiar with a round robin meeting?
No, I'm still learning. I've been here 2 months.
Okay, you don't know what a round robin meeting is.
Have no clue.
Okay, that's when someone contacts this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one.
You don't know that.
That's a round robin meeting. A round robin meeting is in violation of the Open Meetings Act. So when you,
So are you talking a phone call, an in-person meeting? I mean, I'd like to know, obviously.
any of it, phone call,
When anything's discussed.
walking over here, talking off to the side,
You can't have a personal conversation with him?
you can have a personal conversation with them. This is a business conversation.
Oh, okay. I just want clarification.
You guys made a decision to take bids to find out what the lawyer would cost you. You did this in violation of the Open Meetings Act. You decided that you wanted bids on how we were going to possibly spend our money. It's known as deliberation. It's against the Open Meetings Act. It's backdoor meeting bullcrap that I've been complaining about forever. The way that you guys blindsided her was another one. You were in violation by not allowing her into that meeting or letting her know what it was in the first place. Every board member on this board has to be given the opportunity to attend a meeting. You erroneously stated, maybe it was not erroneously, but you stated that our lawyer told you that you didn't have to go into private session because the employee asked. That's totally false. That is totally false. Maybe you guys ought to find a different lawyer. And if you guys could follow these rules, I think your meetings would go real smoothly. And I think if people weren't trying to break the law so often, these meetings would go much better. And I want one more thing to be known publicly, that I'm going to harp on this until the day I die. He spun out of here just a few feet from Cheryl and Cindy Cronk and one other person, recklessly driving to the road. Somebody, the least that should happen is this should be censured. This is not, you've never seen me do this. You've seen me raise my voice and talk firmly when I'm upset. But I would never, never try to cause harm to someone. If he'd have gone out of control, he could have killed somebody. Get your anger management in order, buddy.
All right, is there anybody else with public statements?
Will Tyler White, resident on Main Street in Bath. I've got a lot of things, not notes here to talk about, but in 3 minutes, I can't cover them all. I'll cover the two important points, though, one of which Mr. Curtis just spoke to, and and you admitted to it. One of your trustees admitted that 5 of you got together and instructed the superintendent to send a letter to the attorney. That's a violation of the Open Meetings Act, right there. He had a form. And here, a quote from the letter from the attorney. It is our understanding that the board has requested a proposal to have legal counsel in attendance at meetings. This board never requested that. That's not in the meeting. The proper thing to do would be for the superintendent to say, I have heard from a couple of trustees about this issue. I would like to put it on the meeting for the next agenda to decide if we want to request a letter from the attorney. That didn't happen. We got the letter that was requested by a majority meeting unofficially in violation of the Open Meetings Act. That's as clear as day. The other thing that's clear is why these meetings are inefficient and not, ooh.
Mine does that.
2 reasons. The chair is not very good at running meetings. It's difficult to be a chair. I know, I've been a chair before myself. I've been in a lot of different nonprofits and government corporations. But it takes 2 to tango. So if the chair is maybe not that great, she or he can appoint a chair pro tem that can run a meeting and that can bang the gavel when people speak out of turn who are not recognized, and that happens continuously. I didn't hear once tonight the phrase, the chair recognizes trustee Ryan Schultz here. Or the chair recognizes, or you're speaking out of turn. Where's the gavel? You're not polite, you don't follow the rules of a meeting, and if the trustees don't know how to act properly in a meeting, it's twice as difficult for the chair to try and run a meeting. So there's fault on both sides. And I think you got to start at least paying attention to that and maybe consider having one of these older gentlemen like Mr. Benzie or Trustee Rosencrantz. They know how to run meetings. They know how to bang a gavel. They sit here quietly and don't speak until they're called upon. They don't yell back at somebody when in the middle of the other person talking. No, that's not proper. Frankly, it makes you look like idiots. The other complaint I have is that this big screen up here, why isn't it being used? You could have the agenda there. You had one of those PPD presentations from the guy about the earlier issue. He couldn't put it up there. That should have been automatic. Watch a good meeting. Watch the Meridian Township meetings. It's in use continuously throughout the meeting. It has the agenda up there so the people here without agendas can see what's going on. You can have the whole packet up there. And by the way, the picture blacks out on the live stream. Every so often, boop, no picture. And the chat, live stream chat is turned off, so the public cannot respond. Your duty is to interact with the public. Those are your constituents. If you don't even allow them to comment on your live stream, I think that's pretty poor. And the last thing is strategic planning. Failure to plan is a plan for failure. Everybody should know that by now. The DDA had a 20-year plan. This board threw it out. They don't care about planning. You know, it's ridiculous. Get in the 21st century. You got to plan ahead. You got to figure out what you're doing so not only you know what you're doing, but so the public knows what you're doing. Most of them have no clue of what this board is planned for next year or the year after that or 5 years or 10 years from now. One of the great things about the DDA was that they developed a 20-year plan over years of meetings with hundreds of residents, and this board just ignores it. So I'm very unhappy with this board, other than a few of the conscientious people that are on it. But I hope you would try and do better, and please consider appointing a chair pro tem that can run the meeting. You can even get a third neutral party like Rick. He knows how to run meetings. He can bang a gavel pretty hard. Woo. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. White. Is there anybody else?
I will not do that.
I figured that already. All right, board comments. Oh, I'm sorry, Judy. I didn't
Good
see
evening
you get
again,
up.
Judy Gardy. Thank you, Karen, for the pitch for Dahlia and Kenny. I would just encourage the board members to each buy a ticket to the show or two. If you're not going, you don't like country music, we can always use the tickets at the senior center for seniors who aren't able to afford to go. Tickets are available at the front desk, and we'd really appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. Hopefully, everybody's listening to that. All right, is there anybody else? So we're good? All right. Item 17, which is your board member comments. Did we start with your list? It's Ryan's turn, I think. Trustee Feedwitz Bliss, I think it's your turn. Start off.
I wanted to clarify, Marie, on the number earlier that I gave you. It's not $38,000. The total is $33,565.
Okay, hang on, that was on. Give me the number one more time.
$33,565.
Got it. Thank you.
I want to send lots of love and care to Paula's family and friends. It was an honor to serve with her on this board previously. We didn't always agree on everything, but I know she had her heart in the right place and had a heart for service, so it's a loss to our community. And lastly, apologies to the treasurer. I think it's incredibly sexist to tell a woman that she has to tone down her attitude and that she has anger management issues.
Oh,
I wouldn't
my
do that.
God. Are you serious? Are you serious? You take a parting shot at me. Unbelievable. You are one piece of work, buddy.
See you in the parking lot.
Sexist?
Maybe you
Is
should
that what
tone
you-
down your attitude. You're a man.
I wouldn't want anyone to say that to you either, Marie. That's really sexist.
Oh, it's said to me all the time.
Well, I think that's sexist if people say that to you. They shouldn't.
That's my profession, that I was in law enforcement. Of course they did that. What are you talking about?
Then you know all about sexism.
Yes, I do. More than you want to know.
Appropriate to say to
All right.
anybody when it's needed. Sorry.
After that, do you have any comments, Trustee Rosecrans?
I'm scared to speak up. Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear Paula had passed away. She, when she got her position, we went out and had a meal and talked over the board, and she tried. I didn't always agree with her, but she tried.
No comment? Okay. I have a comment, but I think I'll wait until everybody's done.
I have no comments.
Oh, it's my turn?
Apparently so. Wake up.
Well, I'll miss Paula, those of us that were fortunate enough to know her. And I'd like to conclude with thanking all of my public safety officers for all of the outstanding work that they do here every day.
I just was reading this, and I had read it before, that it was my understanding, and it says here clearly, when there's a closed meeting, it is up to the person that requests it who is being talked about. And we have misused that or not been guided by that. That's in our laws. And I think we should be very careful. If you want to go talk about me, we do it in an open meeting unless I request us to go away. It's in the laws, guys. It's very clear. So if you want to talk about me being rude at this meeting and censure me, we do it in the open meeting with the public unless I request it. That's in the law. So I think we should remember that in the future. I think it's a very important part of the law, and there's a reason for it. And I think we've screwed up.
It's okay.
Well, I'll speak and then you speak.
Okay.
Is that what it is?
I appreciate it.
No, because you'll have an answer for this, I'm sure.
Okay.
I too was sorry to hear about Paula. I've known Paula for a long time, so hearing that she and her death is just another one for 2023. I can hardly wait for this year to be over. I have had more deaths and more funerals that I've had to attend since the first of the year. So it has been a really tough year losing people. And I was always told that that was the age. that when you reach that age, you do start losing some of the people that you know. And actually, I always thought my mother was kind of telling me a fib, but obviously she wasn't. She was right on point. All right, my second point, this one you saw. Whoops, sorry about that. I put this, it's the Clinton County Sheriff's Department. And he's asking for monies, and he sent this in January, for requests. Metro is very dear and near to my heart, so this was something that, you know, when I got this, I was really quite enthused about it. But I waited because it never came up, it was never mentioned. It was sent to me, I'm assuming it was sent to others, that was an assumption, ASSU and me. I did end up getting from, I think Jennifer wrote this, but I think
Yeah, I
Yeah.
searched it.
and found that, this is kind of an interesting piece, that it came from, the check was payable to the Clinton County Sheriff's Office, which it should have been, and it was requested by Chief Gary Smith, only it says Gary Smith. It was authorized by Gary Smith. So I found that a little interesting from the standpoint that we had allocated that fund in our budget, which we did for Metro. I remember that quite clearly. But what I didn't, and why it waited until to put this in for us to be able to look at it, was because I wasn't sure what anybody would do with it. And of course, it was sent back to me when I put it in my folder for things to be put into the agenda, is what it was in our packet. So it was sent back and said, obviously, by saying to me, that that's not an important thing to do. Frankly, I think it's a really important thing that the public understand that we do contribute. Even though it's in our budget, this letter came asking for it, and nothing was said that, yes, it had already been taken care of. But apparently, this was taken care of February 14th, so it was almost, not quite a month, but it was pretty close, that the check had been sent. It was $2,000. So Bath Township, with your taxpayer dollars, has spent $2,000 to go to Metro for the support with the police department, which is a really good expense. In fact, it probably should be more than that. But anyway, thank you all for coming tonight, and I will turn that over.
What I was going to say is that the board rules of order is superseded by the Open Meetings Act. So I do think that our board rules of order do need to be updated because there are more permissible reasons to go into a closed session. And I'm not trying to debate with anybody, I'm just saying.
Something newer than.
Newer than this, yes.
And you also have discounting ideas. In other words, A says one thing and B says something else.
Well,
And
Yeah,
that's-
I think there's like
that's how it
through
goes.
H or something like that, so.
Anyway, are you going to say something now, Joe?
I would like to.
Sure.
I think this board needs a little more information on the Open Meetings Act. Okay? So
I think
that
that's a
we
great idea.
Understand all the reasons for having one.
Yep.
All right. I think that does it for us for the evening. I think we need,
I move the meeting be adjourned.
I know, we
Second.
do this for the adjournment thing. Oh,
Sorry. You did not need my cackle.
Get it again.
Ms. Kellerman? Ms. Kellerman? We're dismissing the.
Okay.
No, it's
for adjournment.
Yes,
You want to
yes,
adjourn it?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
We don't do unanimous consent here.
Yes,
We do
unanimous.
vote,
Let's
so-
go.
Mr. Fuse Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Ben, Mr.
Yes.
Dempsey? Thank
All right, guys, hang on to your ears. Oh, very good. That was perfect.